Good morning, team. Thanks for taking time to attend this Bluemix session. So, in this session, what I would like to introduce is, I would like to introduce Bluemix platform as a service, and I would also like to talk about the high-level architecture and various components that fits into Bluemix. And then we'll also have a quick glance of what are the services that are available within the Bluemix platform as a service. And then finally, if time permits, we'll also do a demo of how exactly to create various boilerplates and various applications within the Bluemix PaaS service. And so at any point in time, you're free to ask your questions, so you can stop me for any kind of questions that you might have. I'm happy to answer that. And finally, during the demo, what I would like to do is probably, I would also like to have your IDs created and ready. If you don't have your IDs created, quickly log on to www.bluemix.net and get your IDs activated. It's a matter of a few minutes to activate your Bluemix ID and activate it so that finally when we do the demo, parallelly as I try creating some applications, you can also try doing the same in your computers. Is that fine?
Lokesh, can you just repeat that URL again?
It is www.bluemix.net.
Oh, okay.
So that's actually a 1 month free trial. And so I think you can explore a lot of services and maybe whatever is your custom requirement. So you can actually try creating those services and then try quickly creating an application. And probably after that, probably you might need to swipe your card, but that doesn't mean you're going to get charged. So probably if you're going to be well within the limits of the services quota that you might be using, probably if you're using a database, probably you might have a 10 GB of space, assuming. And if you're well within the quota, you need not pay anything. So probably if you're going to cross that threshold, in that case only you're going to be billed a charge. So even after your free trial period, you are free to actually experiment and start using the services that is available within the Bluemix platform. So just to set the stage for Bluemix. So we are actually in a period of app revolution. So if you look at almost 5 years back, so there's a revolution where lots and lots of web applications have been created, and a lot of applications have been created for mobile devices and smartphones, and also a lot of applications are also created for all these kind of embedded devices, and a lot of analytics applications are being created. So if you look at the apps present in the present day world, so there are loads and loads of applications that are actually created. And for looking from a customer point of view, so what the customer exactly wants is a unified experience. Be it the data coming from a web or probably a data available on a smartphone or a data coming from some kind of a sensor. So the customers are actually requiring a unified kind of an experience or a multi-channel experience. So they want the same kind of applications available on a tablet device or a mobile device or a web kind of an application. And they also want a seamless data access for the data, so that is coming through any channel, be it the web channel or the mobile channel or probably a tablet kind of a device. So they want seamless access to the data, and they also want a kind of a unified or a multi-channel cross-platform kind of an experience for all these applications that are out there in the wild. And so cloud makes it possible, and that's where I actually want to introduce Bluemix platform. So if I move on to slide number 3, so these are the various kinds of services that are actually available within the Bluemix platform. Okay. The first thing is if you're looking from the development or a deployment point of view, so it's all that is required is only a few seconds to actually deploy your applications on the cloud. Probably if you already have your applications, your web applications, or even for that matter, your mobile applications created, all that takes is actually a matter of few minutes to few seconds to quickly bind your application and deploy it onto the Bluemix cloud. And probably there are multiple languages that we actually support in the Bluemix platform. Probably if you say that you work on J2E technology, for Java technologies. So we have the J2E containers available within the Bluemix platform. We have support for JavaScript frameworks like your Node.js, and we also support Ruby on Rails or Ruby Sinatra. And Bluemix also, since Bluemix is built on top of Cloud Foundry, so I'll cover Cloud Foundry in the next slide. So Cloud Foundry is more of a de facto standard or open source standard for your cloud, and then so there are a lot of contributors who actually create applications or create services for this open source cloud platform. So Cloud Foundry is an open source PaaS platform, and IBM contributes to this particular Cloud Foundry, and there are a lot of other contributors like your EMC Square or your Rackspace, your Amazon, and SAP. So there are a lot of contributors to this Cloud Foundry, and this Bluemix is built on top of this particular Cloud Foundry open source stack. And so whatever third-party services that are contributed to this particular community is already available, as we call it, as build packs. So say, for example, probably you say that you might, for your kind of application requirement, you say that you want to run your Python kind of an application, or probably you have a .NET kind of an application, or probably you might have any other kind of a custom requirement or a custom container that is your particular requirement. So probably what you can do is you can actually push these containers as a build pack inside your Bluemix framework, and then you can start deploying your applications on top of that. So that's what we mean by any language. So you can actually write your development piece can be written in any language, be it your Java, be it your .NET probably, or probably you're writing some JavaScript piece of a code, or probably you're writing some Ruby code. So any kind of language is supported, and you can dynamically deploy this particular code inside your Bluemix framework. And then talking about the scalability and performance, so that is taken care by the platform itself. And of course, we do support for mobile as well, which I'll be covering shortly, and probably even during the demo, I'll try to show a piece of code how exactly you can deploy your native applications and connect to the backend services which are actually running on the Bluemix platform. And we do support continuous integration. So this is where the DevOps comes into picture, probably for your automated development and deployment. So we give you provisions wherein you can actually develop on cloud, and you can also deploy on cloud. So Bluemix gives you the flexibility of actually developing your application source code on a web ID on cloud, and then you can also start deploying the code that you might have done any modifications on. So you can also deploy this particular piece of code on your Bluemix platform. And we also provide integrations with third-party repository like a Git or a GitHub repository. So probably if you have your piece of code on a GitHub repository, you can actually bind it to your Bluemix environment, and you can start dynamically deploying that piece of code as well inside your Bluemix framework. So what this overall means is, from a developer point of view, he has more time to actually spend on developing the code rather than setting up the infrastructure. So for example, in the traditional world, so if probably someone comes to a developer and says, hey, I need this particular POC to be done, probably within 2 weeks of time. Okay. So all that the developer is actually he's actually crippled. Like, he doesn't have any kind of tools to develop this particular demo. Probably for this particular application requirement, he might need an application server, and then probably he might also need a database. So probably what he does immediately once the requirement or the assignment is given to him is probably he quickly tries to check on the internet and tries to download some particular app server. Probably he also tries to download some kind of a database that custom suits his requirement, and then he tries to set it up, and in the process of setting it up, he's stuck, and then probably he raises some questions on the forum, and by the time he gets his reply, and then by the time he sets up the app server and the database, already he's wasted at least 1 week of time, and hardly he's left with another 1 week of time to actually completely build the code and show a demo to his hierarchy. Okay, So that is completely eradicated if you're going to use a Bluemix platform, because the servers is already available. By the click of a button, the server instances will be dynamically deployed on the cloud, and the developer is free to concentrate on the code and develop some scenarios rather than setting up the whole infrastructure and doing all the configuration. So you've got more time and flexibility to spend in terms of developing the code and probably making some advanced changes to the code that is actually developed. And just coming on to slide number 4. So this talks about the various cloud models. And even before talking about the various cloud models, on your extreme right, you see the traditional on-prem model. So on a traditional on-prem model, so probably if you have to set up your own app servers or a database for a kind of a POC that you might be developing, or a kind of a product that you might be developing, so you'll have to set up everything from the scratch. Probably if you have your own data center, you'll have to set up your servers, you'll have to take care of your storage, the networking, probably the virtualization, and what operating systems that you need to install. Then you'll have to install your middleware, the runtimes, and on top of which you're actually going to deploy your code and your data. So that's a traditional on-prem model, and probably if there's going to be any kind of fix packs or any upgrades that needs to be done for the operating systems or even for your middleware, so that has to be taken care by the administrator. So that's the traditional on-prem. So by the time you actually deploy these on-prem models, probably it might even take months to set up a particular application server or application to your end customer. And traditionally, if you're looking at an infrastructure as a service, which is at the exact middle of this particular slide. So you have the storage pieces are already available for you. You have the server set up for you. You have the memory, the RAM, whatever the requirement, the networking. So everything is configured and provided by the infrastructure service providers. And all you have to focus on is actually to set up your virtualization servers or your operating systems. And then probably you'll have to bring your own license and then install the middleware or the runtimes, and on top of which you're going to deploy your code or data. So this is infrastructure as a service for you. And IBM's version of infrastructure as a service is called as IBM software. And of course, there are other players like an Amazon or maybe Microsoft also provides these kind of services. And the third level of service that you see at the extreme right-hand side is your software as a service, wherein along with your infrastructure, the operating systems, the middleware, the runtimes, even the data and the code is also deployed as a service. So probably what you're going to bill your customer is basically for the services that you've already hosted, and then he has to pay only for the service that he's going to consume that you're already deployed on the cloud. So talking about IBM services, we already have something called as IBM Connections. So IBM Connections is more of a social networking software for business. And basically we have services, something like your profiles, your wikis, your blogs already hosted on the cloud. And probably if any of the customers want to use specific services, what they can do is they can actually use these custom-built services and pay only for the services that they are going to make use of. And if you look at this slide number 6, so in between infrastructure as a service and software as a service, there's a middle layer which is actually called as the platform as a service. So in platform as a service, we give you the complete stack starting from your servers, your storage, your networking, your operating system, your virtualization, and also the middleware and runtime which is already deployed and configured for you. All that you have to do is you will have to actually just deploy your code and your databases and your probably your schemas, and then dynamically deploy your services, and then you can actually give that or provide that to your end customers for consumption. So this is platform as a service, and IBM's version of platform as a service is called as the IBM Bluemix, and IBM Bluemix actually runs on top of your IBM software infrastructure as a service. So we'll see how exactly Bluemix works with the new IT. So to define what is Bluemix, So Bluemix is open standard, as we just spoke about earlier. So Bluemix is built on the open standard Cloud Foundry PaaS platform, and it's basically used to develop any kind of application. So probably if you want to develop a web-based application, or probably a big data analytics kind of an application, or a mobile application, or any kind of application for smart devices, you might have heard of this Internet of Things, wherein billions of devices are actually talking to billions of devices. So these kind of connectivity or these kind of applications can be developed using Bluemix. And so some of the services that are actually provided by Bluemix, it provides you those instant environments. As I told you, we provide all these runtime environments, and the app server that Bluemix provides is called as the WebSphere Liberty Profile. I'm sure you might have already heard of WebSphere application servers. And a Liberty Profile is basically a lightweight version of your WebSphere application server. It's almost equivalent to your Tomcat, or it's a stripped-down version of your WebSphere application server. It's a JE environment server, and so probably if you want to deploy a web-based application for your requirement, you can, by the click of a button, you can create an instance of your WebSphere Liberty Profile, and then dynamically deploy it on your Bluemix PaaS platform, and then you can start deploying your applications and then provisioning it for your end customers. And of course, we provide the DevOps. We spoke about DevOps. Either you can actually, you have the flexibility to develop on cloud and deploy on cloud. For that, we provide something called as the IDS, which is nothing but your IBM DevOps services. And for using these DevOps services, we consume something called as JASUB services, which is basically more of a rational offering. So JASUB.net basically helps you to develop and automate your code and automate the complete process of deploying your code onto the servers. And we provide it using your IBM DevOps service, and of course we provide integrations with GitHub. And probably we also provide a bunch of APIs and services. Probably if you want to talk to your own on-prem kind of services, or probably you want to connect to some third-party kind of applications. So we provide cloud APIs, Bluemix cloud APIs, which helps you to basically connect to some third-party services, or probably your own custom-built services that you might have deployed on-prem and you want to connect to those services. And then we also provide security on the Bluemix cloud platform. And then the pricing that we provide is also flexible. So for each of the service, we have some 60-plus services already deployed on Bluemix, and then we've been adding each day we've been adding new services inside the Bluemix platform. And for each of the service that fits your requirement, for any service that you click on Bluemix, you will have the pricing details already listed at the bottom of the page. Probably say, for example, you select some 3 or 4 services that meet your requirement, and then once you've actually bound those services together, so there's an estimator button at your extreme right-hand side, and you click on the estimator, it automatically tells you for these particular 4 services that you've selected on the Bluemix PaaS platform, this is the probably the pricing that you might need to pay per month, or probably the price that you need to pay per year. So that's a flexibility. So everything is open. So you can actually quickly calculate the pricing for the services that you might want to use, and then probably you can bill your customers accordingly based on the services that you're exposing to your end customers. And the next slide, so how does Bluemix work? So this slide basically gives you a very high-level architecture of the Bluemix platform. So as I told you, so Bluemix is basically an extension of your Cloud Foundry open source PaaS platform, and the whole stack is running on top of the IBM soft layer, which is the infrastructure as a service that we provide. And then we do provide the runtimes. The runtimes that we provide are your Java runtimes, the JavaScript runtimes, and the Ruby runtimes, which is coming out of the box. But any build pack that you might want to add to custom suit your requirements, you can add your own runtime or your own build pack inside this particular Bluemix framework. And so the services that are listed inside the Bluemix platform is basically a whole bunch of IBM services. So most of the IBM middleware is now exposed as services inside the Bluemix platform. Say, for example, as we spoke about the WebSphere server. So WebSphere server is actually running as a service within Bluemix. And then we have services specifically for analytics. So probably you might have heard of Cognos. So the Cognos is also running as a service inside your Bluemix platform, and we have services for your Internet of Things. Basically, if you want to do some machine-to-machine kind of connectivities or sensors or gateway kind of connectivity which wants to talk to your computer or to your backend systems to exchange some data. So we provide services for Internet of Things, and then probably you want to use some big data or big insights kind of application requirements. So we have that also as a service running for you. So there are a whole bunch of IBM services that is running. So probably whichever meets your requirement, you can actually pick up those services and then create your own application and start provisioning it to your end customer. And then there are certain standard services that are actually available on Cloud Foundry, which is also exposed within the Bluemix platform. So as I told you, like it's running on the Cloud Foundry, which is an open source stack. So whatever standard services are available on this particular open source stack is also made available within the Bluemix platform as well. So when you log inside the Bluemix console, you will be seeing a bunch of services and whatever services that are provided by IBM. So you will see the label tagged as IBM below those services, and whatever services are provided by third party or by community, you will see the corresponding labels tagged below those services. And as you see in this architecture diagram, probably if you have your own systems or you want to talk to an external cloud, or probably you want to talk to an external database, probably that is deployed at your customer location. So we do provide on-prem integrations via the SaaS and live connectors or adapters, and we do provide cloud APIs to talk to your own, probably the databases that you might have deployed on-prem, or probably that is already running on your customer's data center. And the next slide, why developers are using Bluemix. So I already briefed about that. So the developers can go from zero to running within a matter of few minutes. So all they need to do is focus on the code that they're going to develop, not on actually setting up the servers or the infrastructure or doing the admin work or configuration. So everything is available by a click of a button to a developer, and all he needs to do is just focus on the code that he needs to write and then dynamically start deploying this code onto the Bluemix servers. And we do provide the DevOps, which basically helps to automate the development and the delivery of many applications inside the cloud platform. And of course, we provide adapters, which basically helps you to actually extend or reuse your existing investment. Probably if you want to have bought your own servers for your databases, and then you just want to reuse those servers rather than actually consuming a new service within the Bluemix framework itself, you are still free to use your own data servers or any kind of on-prem servers that you might have already provisioned, and you can connect it using the Bluemix APIs and still start using those services in context of your Bluemix application that you might be developing. So, and the next few slides are basically going to be the screenshots of the applications that you might be developing. So for this part, what I would like to do is I'd like to quickly jump onto the demo part. So what I would like you all to do is, as I just log into the Bluemix, I request you also to log into the Bluemix console. So just log on to this bluemix.net, and if you've already activated your ID, just click on the login button and just provide your username, password, credentials, and you should be able to log in and see the dashboard of Bluemix. So I'm just logging in. Give me a second. In the meanwhile, probably if you have any questions in the discussions that we have so far, probably you can shoot it out as I try to log in.
So Lokesh, one question, right? So soft layer is the infrastructure. So it's like a kind of like a hosting provider. Is that what soft layer is? Like a hosting solution or a hosting?
Yeah. So software is basically infrastructure wherein we provide you the bare metal hardware, the processors, whatever kind of processors that you might require, and probably the storage space and the memory that you might require, properly the antivirus and stuff like that. On top of which, you have to bring in your own license of whatever application. Probably if you're talking about a Worklight kind of an application and you want to deploy a Worklight server, so you can bring in your own Worklight server license, and you can deploy it on top of soft layer and then start provisioning it for your, and deploying your applications and then provisioning it for your end customers. But so what we are doing in Bluemix is we are adding one more layer on top of soft layer, wherein we are providing these services ourselves. Like as I just mentioned that you will have to deploy your own licenses of your servers, and that's a painstaking process. So we ease out that process wherein we deploy those servers ourselves onto the soft layer, and we provide that in the name of Bluemix. So a whole bunch of IBM middleware is already deployed on soft layer, and then we provide that as individual services which customers or partners can start using it, and we provide that in the name of Bluemix. And for Worklight, for your information, we also provide it in a monthly rental model. So IBM will provision a Worklight servers on soft layer, and then probably if you want to use the Worklight server on a monthly rental basis, so that is also available for your consumption, and that is available from the latest version, that is Worklight Foundation 6.2. So this is actually can be provisioned on soft layer, and it can be used on a monthly rental model. Okay, so I just logged in to the Bluemix console. So the moment you log into your Bluemix console, so this is basically the dashboard. That will be your landing page. So you'll notice that you'll be having 2 GB of space and probably 10 services or 20 services that you can make use of during this free trial period. And so if you just click on the catalog at the top left, top right. So are you able to log in inside Bluemix?
One second, Lokesh.
Yeah, I can wait. So let me know once you're ready, and then I can start with the flow.
Yeah, this is the registration process. Just a minute.
Sure.
Now departing.
Hello?
Yeah, Lokesh, we're almost in. What had happened is I already had an IBM account and then I was trying to sign up.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. So, so I just logged in, and then if you just click on the catalogs tab, so you'll be seeing something called as boilerplates. So, boilerplates is nothing but a set of runtimes packaged together to actually custom suit your requirement. Say, for example, probably you want to deploy a kind of a web application, and probably if you want to deploy a web application, probably you might need something like a Java server, and you might also need a database. So the boilerplate gives you a flexibility of choosing between, of course, the only runtime that is available for the app server or the web server is nothing but your Liberty profile. So you can choose your Liberty profile, and then probably for a database, so we give you options. Probably if you say that you want to use an SQL DB, so SQL DB is basically a database that is available within the Bluemix platform, which is powered by IBM DB2. Probably if you say that for our kind of requirement, we don't want a relational database, you say that for me, as a non-SQL kind of a database is more than sufficient. Probably you can choose a Java and a Cloud and kind of a package. And probably if you say that you want to use a Java application, probably for my custom requirement as a Java cache is sufficient, you can choose that combination to create your kind of application and then for your custom deployment. And there are a lot of other services also that is available. If you notice that there is something called as mobile cloud. So if you click on the mobile cloud boilerplate, it creates a bunch of 4 services for you. One is called as the mobile backend as a service, which is basically, say for example, you write any kind of a mobile application. Be it your, as of date, we support for Android and for iOS, and you write some kind of a native application for Android or an iOS, or probably you write a kind of a hybrid application for your Android or iOS, or for that matter, even if you develop a Worklight-based application. So, and for any data that is generated out of your mobile application, you want to store that particular data on a backend server. So, we provide a cloud and a database on the Bluemix cloud for you to actually directly store or inject the data that is coming from your mobile application onto your Bluemix database or Bluemix backend server. So that's one of the services that we provide, and then we also provide push notification services within the mobile cloud boilerplate. And we also, this is basically if you want to send some kind of push notifications for your mobile applications, you can use that. And then again, probably if you want to actually use some kind of a mobile application security. So you want to add a security layer on your mobile application. Probably you want to keep a tab of who are the guys who are actually logging into the cloud, mobile Bluemix cloud, and you want to add a security layer. You can add the mobile application security layer inside your mobile application that you're already developing. And probably if you want to use some voice over IP kind of services like a voice chat or something like a message chat kind of an application, you can use a Twilio service that is a third-party service. But Twilio, as of now, it's open only for the US, and probably it should be shortly available for India as well. And so you can use the Twilio services probably if you want to do some VoIP kind of communications within your mobile application that you're developing. And the other service that we provide for mobile is called as the mobile quality assurance. It's more of a rational piece of product that we have integrated within the Bluemix. And this MQA or mobile quality assurance, it basically helps to improve the quality of your application. Probably if you want to talk about some of the in-app bugs in your application, or probably you want to test about the in-app crashes that is happening, any crashes that are happening in your application, or any bugs that you want to actually track in your application, or probably you want to get the feedback for any application that is put on an app store. So there's going to be feedback from the end users who are actually using those applications, or probably you want to do a sentiment analysis based on the feedbacks that are actually coming from this particular app stores. So you can actually use your NQA to actually track all the sentiment analysis, all your bug reports, also all your in-app crashes that might be happening. So all these services are actually available on the mobile cloud boilerplate for you to actually quickly tailor stitch your application. And then we have also added a whole new bunch of Watson services for cognitive computing. So the Watson services are also available as boilerplates inside your Bluemix framework, and you can start using them. And then we also spoke about the Internet of Things. Probably you want to actually establish some kind of machine-to-machine connectivity. Say, for example, you're writing an application for your end customer, wherein probably in a factory, probably in a furnace, if the temperature is going to cross beyond a particular threshold limit, you want to actually immediately send a notification, push notification to the field engineer saying that something is going wrong in the furnace. So you can use something like an Internet of Things service wherein you can actually fetch those data coming from the back-end sensors or gateways through something called as an MQTT protocol, as we call it, which is called as MQ telemetry transport. Fetch the data and then flash it back to any of the services or any of the applications that you might have developed, be it your web applications, or probably you want to give a dashboard to your maybe the admin who is actually monitoring the plant. So you can actually send those data to the admin dashboard, or probably you want to send a push notification to your field engineer. You can actually write a push notification service also, which sends an alert to the engineer saying that something is going wrong in the furnace. So these kinds of boilerplates are available in the name of Internet of Things. And again, if you just scroll down, you see something called as runtimes. So these are the runtimes that are available out of the box in the Bluemix PaaS platform. So we have the Java runtime, which is called as the WebSphere Liberty. We call it as Liberty for Java. And then we have something called as Node.js, which is basically if you write some server-side JavaScripts, you can deploy these JavaScripts inside this Node.js runtime environment. And we do provide runtime environments for Ruby on Rails or Ruby Sinatra. And again, probably we also provide the option for bringing your own build pack. So as we spoke about sometime earlier, we do provide, so Bluemix is built on top of Cloud Foundry, and we do provide an option of bringing whatever services or runtimes that are available on the open source community of Cloud Foundry. You can bring those build packs within your Bluemix runtime, probably if that matches your requirement or the application that you might be developing. And if you slightly scroll below, you also see the Watson services. So these services we just added a month back, and that's why you see that it's all in beta. So we give you various options for Watson services, something like a language identification, probably any data that's coming in, any language that's coming, probably we identify 25 languages. And then you want to actually build an application on top of that, you can use a language identification service, or probably you want to use a machine translation for something like a text-to-speech or speech-to-text. So you can use the machine translation service, which does a job for you. And then the Q&A, which is more of a forum kind of a thing, wherein you can ask questions and then the answers can be actually coming out of the Watson systems. So those kind of services are also available within the Watson. And again, if you scroll down for the mobile, so these are the services which we just spoke about a little bit earlier. So probably when you click on the boilerplate and create those services, so all these services will be packaged together, but probably you might not need all these services for your particular application. So whatever services that is not required, probably if you created a boilerplate, you can remove those services that is not required. Or vice versa, you can actually click only on the services that is only required for you and dynamically create an app and consume that inside your application. So probably what I'll do is after I run through this particular catalogs page, I'll try to create a sample web application, and I'll also try to create a sample mobile application, and I'll show you how exactly to integrate. So that will give you a better insight of how to integrate your web applications and your mobile applications inside the Bluemix framework. And again, if you slightly scroll down, you see something called as the DevOps services. So DevOps, as we spoke about, for your dynamic development, deployment, and automation. So So we provide the desktop integration where you can dynamically develop your code and then you can start deploying your code. And there are a lot of other services that we provide for auto scaling. Probably maybe depending upon the load on your application, you want to increase the number of instances or decrease the number of instances. You can do the dynamic scaling using the auto scaling feature that is available within the DevOps, and you can do track and plan. Probably if your team is distributed and they're developing the code, and then probably you want to track and plan who's developing what piece of code, you can use the track and plan services. And Blazemeter is basically a third-party service that you've added inside your DevOps, which basically helps you to do some kind of load testing on your application. And then again, we have a third-party application called as Load Impact, which also helps you to do some kind of load testing on your application. And New Relic is one other DevOps services that we have integrated within IBM Bluemix. And again, if you scroll down, you see web and application. So we have a whole bunch of services that can be attached with your existing web applications. So something like a data cache. So say, for example, you have developed a web application and you are frequently accessing the database. And so just to avoid to frequently access the database, you might create a data cache and then populate whatever the frequently accessed data inside the particular data cache, and then you can pull it out from the cache. So if that is your requirement, you can use a data cache. And then if you want to add business rules for your application, you can use a business rules service that is available out of the box within the Bluemix. Probably if you want to use MQ messaging kind of an application, you can use the MQ Lite. And then we also provide something called as Rapid Apps. So Rapid Apps is basically more of a no-coding visual editor, which basically helps you to create both mobile applications and web applications on the cloud without writing a single piece of code. Okay, so as we just saw on Worklight, we provide this Worklight framework beta, wherein you actually dynamically create those views and then bind to those data models, which is exactly what you can do in Rapid Apps as well, wherein you can just click on Rapid Apps and then it provides you kind of a rich page editor, wherein you can dynamically drag and drop widgets. And then quickly create your screens. Probably you might not create such a Jati screens, what you might be using a traditional JavaScript framework or even using your native application. But still, it helps you to create some basic forms or maybe a registration form or a feedback kind of a form and some kind of web screens and web layouts as well. And then it dynamically creates a PhoneGap build for you or a Cordova build for you if it is a mobile application, or it also creates a WAR file for you if it is a web application that you develop using this Rapid App Studio, which is in beta, that is available within the Bluemix platform. And there are other services like if you want to create a workflow for various applications that you have written, you can create a workflow service, or you want to create a workload scheduler. Basically, depending upon the workload, what you want to actually trigger, you can use a workload scheduler. And probably if you want to use some location-based services or applications of that sort, you can use these reverse geocoding or travel boundary services for location-based applications that you might want to develop. And then for integrations, what we provide is the Kasta and Live, which is what you see as cloud integration. So you can create endpoints, and then you can start binding those endpoints inside your Bluemix framework and start consuming it within the applications that you might have deployed within the Bluemix framework. And as I'm talking about this today, I see a new service that is again added for integration, which is called as containers. So I think it's in an experimental stage. Containers, it enables to run Docker containers in a hosted cloud environment on IBM Bluemix. It port your existing application to IBM Bluemix and make them publicly accessible by using containers. A private registry is provided where trusted images can be uploaded and stored and retrieved. So containers is something new that we have added. What it basically does is you can actually bring in your hosted applications inside your cloud environment, and it provides a container to quickly make it available on the cloud. So that's a new thing that we've added today. And for the data management, so we have a whole bunch of databases which is of custom choice, probably whatever kind of database that you might require for your requirement, you can pick and choose So we have the Cloud and Database. We have something called the DataWorks, which is an IBM Beta. And then we have SQL Database, which is powered by IBM DB2. And then we have your MySQL, and Elephant SQL is nothing but PostgreSQL as a service. And we have MySQL database, we have MongoDB and MongoLab. So these are some of the database services that is provided within the Bluemix platform. And when we talk about big data, so we provide a whole bunch of services. We provide something called as Big Insights, DashDB, which is more of an IBM DB2 Blue, which is more of a columnar database. And we also provide something called as a geospatial analytics. We provide IBM Analytics for Hadoop, and we also provide a time series database. Probably if you have a requirement wherein you will have to keep track of each and every second or each and every minute of any particular transaction, okay, and you want to maintain a timestamp, you can use a time series database. And then for security, what we provide is AppScan. So we provide AppScan both for mobile applications and for web applications. For mobile, what we basically provide is once a developer has developed a mobile application and generated assuming a .apk file for an Android or a .ipa file for an iOS kind of an application. So what we do is we do a vulnerability testing on your app. So we see that whether the app build that you have created is vulnerable to any kind of external threats or eavesdropping or any kind of hacking or a malware kind of a threat. So we completely scan your application and certify so that you can go ahead and start publishing your app on a public app store. So that's what AppScan has to provide for mobile. And similarly, we have AppScan for web as well, which basically helps to test the quality of the web application that you have developed. And we also provide a single sign-on. Probably you won't have a single sign-on across multiple applications. And for doing business intelligence or business analytics, we provide something called as an embeddable reporting service. So embeddable reporting is nothing but a subset of Cognos. So IBM Cognos is actually also running as a service in the name of embeddable reporting. So you can use BI services via the embeddable reporting service. And then again for Internet of Things, we provide the IoT service which you can use to talk to any kind of embedded devices or mobile devices running in the background. So having done the introduction to Bluemix, so what I'll quickly show you all is I'll just show you how to create a web application using the boilerplate. Okay, and if time permits, I'll also show you how to do that using the CF command line interface. So there is a command line interface also wherein you can push your var inside your Bluemix. And third thing what I'll do is I'll also show you a demo of integrating a mobile application inside the Bluemix framework. So any questions so far on the catalog services that we have seen?
No, okay. I think it'll be great to see those applications, sample applications.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly create a web application using the Java DB Web Starter. So I just click on this Java DB Web Starter, and so when you click on this boilerplate, as I told you, boilerplates are nothing but a set of services packaged together to actually custom suit your particular requirement. So in this case, we have actually packaged both a Liberty server and then a SQL database for the requirement. So I just give a name. So the space is something which you can create. So probably if you're in a development, you can create a development space. Probably if you want to be in a staging phase, you can actually create a staging space, or probably for a production, you can create a different space altogether. So for this demo, I'll use a dev space, and then I just give a name. I just give a name as Boston Technology. So as you see that it also resolves into a domain name. So the domain suffix is mybluemix.net, which of course you can modify. By default, if you want to create a web application, so it'll whatever name that you provide, it will resolve into a unique DNS name. So here I created the name as Boston Technology, And so the default plans are being selected. For Liberty for Java, we select the default profile, and again for a SQL database, we'll select the free beta. And then, as I told you, for any of the services that you select within Bluemix, it will automatically show the pricing at the bottom. So in this case, it says that up to 375 GB hours is free for 30 days, and probably if you cross that limit, then probably you'll have to pay some 4 rupees per GBR. So that's how the plan works. So for the demo purposes, I'll just click on the create button. So when I click on this create button, so under the hood, what is actually happening is it's now creating a virtual or an image of your Liberty server or WebSphere server. It's creating an instance of your WebSphere server. It's also creating an instance of the DB2 database, and now it is actually deploying on the IBM soft layer. I mean, Bluemix is anyway running on top of your soft layer. So it's creating those instances of your WebSphere app server, that is the lightweight server, which is Liberty profile, and it's also creating an instance of a database, and it's deploying on the IBM soft layer. And there you go. So it's already deployed. See, traditionally, if you're going to do it on your own, so you will have to download the WebSphere Liberty profile or probably a DB2 server, and then you'll have to actually deploy it yourself, configure it yourself, and manage yourself. So which is actually done in a fraction of few seconds. So within maybe 5-10 seconds, I've already installed my my web server or app server, and I've also deployed or installed my database server. So Liberty for Java is actually my app server that I've actually provisioned. So you can either have one instance depending upon your load, or probably you want to increase the number of instances. Okay, you can have 2 or 3 instances, and probably your heap size or your memory that you want to allocate for your server, you can dynamically modify. And then for the database, okay, so it's already, this particular SQL database is already bound to your application. And if you click on the show credentials on your SQL database, it shows all the credentials of how you actually have to connect to this particular database. It gives you a JSON object which tells you what's the name of this particular database, what's the port number it's actually running on, and then probably the host IP address, the JDBC URL, and the JDBC URI and the password. So this is what you'll have to, probably if you're writing a J2E or a Java JE kind of an application, so these are the usernames and passwords that you'll have to bind it within your Java piece of code, or any piece of code, or Java or Ruby or whatever piece of code that you might be writing for your kind of application. You'll have to bind it within your application. And then we expose this particular JSON object that you see over here in the name of a variable called as VCAP services. So a best practice or a best approach is actually to use this VCAP services variable and then retrieve these particular values like a host or a host name or a JDBC URL. Why? Because if you're going to hard code it and tomorrow, for some reason, if you're going to redeploy your database or probably your app server on a database, probably it might pick up a new host name and a JDBC URL and a password. So the ideal way is to use the VCAP services, retrieve the value for the JDBC URL and the host name, and then substitute it in your piece of code to probably do some query transactions to your backend database. So you see that a route is actually created. So the route name is actually bostontechnology.mybluemix.net. So by default, what it actually does is it's already created a custom deployed a sample application. Okay, and I'll show you how that application works. And you also have this Git option over here, as you see on your top right. If you want to add your piece of code to your Git, you can actually click on Add Git, and you can either add it to your GitHub repository, or you can add the piece of code also to your JASUB repository, which is an IBM DevOps repository. So you can add it on both. So in interest of time, I'll just skip the Git part of it. So I'll quickly click on the URL, which is bostontechnology.mybluemix.net. So it will quickly show you the sample application that we have deployed. So this is basically the landing of the home page. Okay, and probably I'll try to add a record over here. So I'll just say, welcome Boston Technology. So when I click on add, what it actually does is it's persisting the data, it's showing on the web page, And at the same point in time, it's inserting this particular record, which is welcome Boston Technology, also into the SQL database. Okay. So this is basically a sample of how exactly your application works on a Bluemix environment. So let me quickly finish off deploying my mobile application, and then I'll come back and show you a demo of how exactly you can deploy your custom WAR file from a command line inside your Bluemix environment. So any cloud on this web application boilerplate?
Lokesh, one quick question. So the SQL database, is it DB2 by default, or can we change it to something else?
No, by default, the SQL database is powered by DB2. But probably if you want to actually, let me go back to that application dashboard. So for Boston Technology, so if you already created an application, so if you go to your dashboard, your application will be already listed there. Okay. And if you say that you don't want to use SQL database, for example, you say that I want to use something like a MySQL. Okay. So what you can do is, again, click on, go to your application dashboard, click on whatever app that you've created, click on this add a service. Okay. And here, you can, once you click on add a service and say that you want to use MySQL rather than using a DB2 or a SQL DB. So you can go and choose MySQL. Okay. And so what you can do is you can bind it to your application. So in this case, we have created an app by name Boston Technology. So what you can do is, so from the app drop down, you can select Boston Technology, and for the database MySQL, you can just give a name as MySQL or MySQL Boston. And then click on create. So when you click on create, it also creates an instance of your MySQL, and then it restarts your the whole application. And then here you see that for your Liberty application, for your Liberty for Java web container, you're bound to both your SQL database and your MySQL. So at any point in time, you say that I don't want my SQL database, you just right-click on the top right settings icon, just right-click on it and just click on it and then say delete service. So when you delete service, so all that you have now for your Boston Technology application is one instance of your Liberty for Java and one instance of your MySQL service running.
Okay.
And probably like this, any service that you might want to add from the existing bunch of services that is available on Bluemix, you are free to add by clicking on an added service and then binding that to your particular application.
Okay.
So now what I'll do is I'll quickly show a demo of this mobile cloud boilerplate. So I'll go back to catalog, and then in the meanwhile, let me also start my Eclipse. So I just click on this mobile cloud boilerplate on my catalogs menu, and then let me give a name to my mobile app. So I'll just give a name as Boston Mobile, Boston-Mobile. Again, it resolves into unique DNS name. Probably if this host name is already taken, then it will throw an error, and probably you'll have to give a unique name. So as you see here for mobile cloud, it adds a bunch of 4 services. So it adds a Node.js runtime, it adds a mobile app security, a push notification service, and a mobile data. So at any point in time, any service that you might not require, you can just delete off the service once you've created your own application. In this case, I just click on create, and then it will create an application called as bostonmobile.mybluemix.net. And let it come up. Wait a second. So at the background, what it's actually doing is it's actually creating a Node.js runtime. It's also creating a runtime for your mobile data, which is nothing but a cloud and database. And it's creating and deploying those services for your push and for your mobile application security. So in this case, actually, for this particular demo, I don't need a mobile application security. So I click on the menu, and then probably I'll say delete this service, as I might not need this service. And for push also, if I don't need that service, I can just click on it and then say delete my push service. So you might have, let me restart my application. What I'll do is go back to my dashboard and open my Boston mobile app. I think there's a bit of change the way you deploy mobile applications. So normally what you'll have is you'll have your route name, and it will also provide over here an app ID and an app secret key. So in this particular screen that you're seeing, so it will also, along with the route name, it also provides something called as a app route name and, the app ID and an app secrets key. So which is how I'll bind my existing Android or iOS application inside my Bluemix environment. So I'll quickly show in my application code. So in my piece of code, application code, so if you have written a native application, so this basically is an application, it's a to-do list kind of an application. So it's something like probably if I walk into a grocery store, I want to actually quickly take a note of what are the items that I need to buy the moment I walk into a grocery store, so that I can remember and then quickly start buying the items. So this application is such a kind of a demo. So let me start my emulator. So if you review your application code, so there'll be a libs folder in your native application that you might be writing. Okay. So in the libs folder, you'll have to add your Bluemix jar files, probably for any native Android or Worklight kind of an application for it to talk to your Bluemix. So you need those jar files, which basically helps you to establish the connectivity to your existing Bluemix services that is running on cloud. So I add those necessary jar files within the libs folder. That's one thing. And then apart from that, I have a properties file wherein I just specify the app ID, the app secret, and the app route name. So app route name is what you saw on the browser. Okay, so it's over here. It's bostonmobile.mybluemix.net. And I'm not quite sure why it's not still listing the app ID and app secret key. It's listed on this particular page. And so you can specify that inside your application. And then you can add that piece of code to actually connect to your Bluemix services. So we provide an API called as IBM Bluemix. So you can actually initialize your connection to your Bluemix using your IBM Bluemix.initialize API method, and then you can provide your app ID, app secret, and app route, which is how you actually bind your existing mobile applications onto your Bluemix cloud. So there's some piece of code that goes along wherein you actually establish the connectivity. And once you've established the connectivity, so from this app, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to actually insert insert a grocery item that I want to buy, and then it processes the record on the Android phone or Android emulator screen, and also it inserts a record inside my Bluemix database. So that's how it works. So let me try deploying a particular Android application. I just right-click on the app and say run as Android application. Let's give it a second. So let me try adding a grocery item. Probably I want to buy some sugar as I walk into a grocery store. There's some error that's showing up. So I say I want to buy some sugar. So the moment I click on the add button, so what it tries to do is it tries to process the record and then show it on the grocery list that I might need to buy. And then if I check my Bluemix database, we should have also inserted a record. For this demo purpose, I already created a demo application and I bound that particular application. So let me open that application. So the application name is Demo Partner. And again, a mobile cloud, a boilerplate kind of application that I've created. So let's click on that and click on mobile data. And once I click on the mobile data service, so it's a kind of a cloud and database. And so when I click on the Manage Data tab that shows up on this particular page, so it takes me to the database records, wherein I can see whether the record is inserted or not. So let's give it a second to load. Fine. Okay, so to save time, in the meanwhile, as it tries to load the database, so I'll also quickly show you a demo of how to push your existing WAR files using the command line interface, because that will be more interesting. That's how you are actually going to insert your own custom WAR applications inside the Bluemix environment. What I'll do is I'll quickly open a bash console. So there's a git bash console probably that you might need to download. Okay, basically the Cloud Foundry command line interface. So you can download this command line interface. It's an exe file which you can download from the internet, probably if you're using a Windows environment, and set it up. And once you have actually set it up, you can quickly log into your Bluemix from a command line interface using a basic set of commands. So this command which I'm typing now is basically used to actually log inside the Bluemix environment. So to cf login -a https://pi.ng.bluemix.net. So this is how actually I'm trying to connect to my Bluemix using command line interface. I provide my username and password to log in, and then send it in.ibm.com and my password. So it's authenticating with my Bluemix server. So I've already logged in. So let me see what directory I'm in. So I'm in users admin. So let me try pushing a sample app for you. Assuming this is a WAR file that I've created, demo boston.war. So let me try pushing this boston.war file inside the Bluemix environment. So I'll use a cf push command to push this WAR file inside my Bluemix. So I'll just say, let me go to that folder first of all. So I'll just execute this command, cf push demo boston.war. I'll just give a name, demo Boston, and -p demo boston.war. So I'm actually trying to push this WAR file, my web application, inside my Bluemix environment. So in the meanwhile, let me check whether the database is open for my mobile cloud. It's trying to load. So inside my mobile cloud, mobile data database, I click on the Manage Data tab. So in Cloud, and any table that you write is treated as a JSON class. So here, what I've done is I've used an item class, and I've tried to push certain items inside this particular items class or an item table. So we just added sugar, right? So sugar is what we added. We just added at 12:05 p.m. So that record is now come inside my database. So probably you want to actually export this data to for your some other kind of a consumption. So you can actually export the data from here as well. But otherwise, this is a demo of how to actually easily integrate your application data or the data coming from your Android or iOS kind of devices directly inside your Bluemix backend database service. So that was a demo for the mobile cloud boilerplate. Now coming back to the command line interface, pushing your application, I think it's now pushed the WAR file inside my Bluemix, and it's just restarting my Boston demo application that we just pushed as a WAR file. Let me go back to I think it's done. So let me go back to my dashboard on my Bluemix, and I should be able to see that application if it is pushed properly. Yes, it's there. So I think this was the file that we pushed. So we created something called as, we pushed a WAR file called as demo boston.war.
Now departing.
Logesh?
Now departing.
Ranjani Rao.
Now attending.
Logesh? Hello? So, Ranjani, you're there? Hello?
Now attending.
Ranjani Rao.
Hi, Ranjani. I think, sorry, we got disconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you there till I showed how exactly we inserted, we got the record inserted inside the Bluemix database?
Yeah, we saw that.
Yeah. Fine. So I'm just doing the last portion, the final portion. So basically, we use the command line to actually insert a WAR file inside the Bluemix container or environment. So I'm also trying to show a demo of how to add a database also using a command line. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add a PostgreSQL as a service inside my Bluemix. So for which I'm just adding that, creating that service for Postgre, and then I'm trying to bind it within the demo Boston application that we just created over the command line. I'm just creating that. So PostgreSQL as a service is called as Elephant SQL, and I'm trying to create that Elephant SQL service for you. So what it's now doing is it's creating a PostgreSQL as a service, and it's trying to deploy on the Bluemix service, but it's still not bound to your existing demo Boston kind of application that we just created. So the next step, what I do is I'll bind this particular database to the particular web application that we just deployed. So I'll use a bind command. So CF is Cloud Foundry bind service, and then demo Boston was the app that we created. Here you go. So what we have done using a command line is we have pushed a var file using a command line, and then we have created a database, in this case a Postgre as a service which is called as Elephant SQL, and we have bound this particular database to this particular web application that we have deployed. So this is how you actually custom deploy your var files inside your Bluemix framework using the command line interface. Mm-hmm. And there's also another option which I didn't show you. So Bluemix plugin is also available for your Eclipse. Okay, so you can go to your Eclipse, go to your help menu on your Eclipse, and then search for your Bluemix plugin. And then once you've downloaded this Bluemix plugin and installed it on your Eclipse, so directly from your Eclipse you can start pushing your applications onto your Bluemix server. So one way of doing it is a command line, and second way of doing it is your boilerplate, and third way of inserting your application code inside your Bluemix container is by using your Eclipse plugin. So I've already installed it, but just to show you all the plugin, so just go to your Eclipse Marketplace and then search for Eclipse Bluemix and click on Go. So you must be able to see two versions of Bluemix. There's a beta and then there's a regular version. So click on the regular version and install that plugin inside your Eclipse. Then I think it's actually looking for this particular Bluemix plugin. Yeah. So this is a plugin. So Eclipse tools for Bluemix. So you can just click on this particular install button, and then you can install this particular plugin. And once you have installed this plugin, and assuming that you already have kind of an application inside your Bluemix environment, what you can do is you can dynamically push applications. Say, for example, I have a web application called as PostgreSQL upload. I can just say run as, and say run on server. And here, for my cloud, I have my Bluemix plugin already installed and configured. So I can select my Bluemix and then say next. And then since this application is already added, that's why I'm not able to add. Otherwise, you can say next, add it, and say finish. And so I'm having some connectivity issue. Otherwise, you can also go to your server tab on your Eclipse. And if it is already stopped, so it's starting now. So you can start it, and you can see the whole bunch of applications that are listed on your for your particular Bluemix account. So probably if you have deployed 3 applications, you'll also be able to see those 3 applications under the service tab in your Eclipse. So you can see these applications deployed, and probably if you want to deploy any new application from your Eclipse, you can just right-click on it and dynamically start deploying your applications from your Eclipse. So this is what I had for the session and for the demo today. So any questions on Bluemix, now I'm free to take. And so you see all these applications. So we just deployed Demo Boston, Boston Technology, and Boston Mobile. So all those applications that you already deployed on cloud is also now listed within your Eclipse. So any kind of modifications that you want to do here, you can dynamically do it over here and then redeploy. Or if you want to deploy new applications from your Eclipse, you can do that as well.
Okay. So Lois, that is really helpful. So one question, right? So we deployed a WAR file. We also, we put our Android app out there on the Bluemix server. If we wanted to do this with an iOS app, is it a similar process? We need to
it's also similar. Yes.
Sorry?
So for Android, it is just your jar file.
Yeah.
So for your iOS, you add your plist files, which we provide, the framework files, plist files, and then I can deploy the.
Okay. Similar. Okay, but just okay.
I can send you those links where you can just follow those steps to actually integrate your iOS applications inside your Bluemix environment.
Yeah, that would be great. And also, so if there's Worklight, right? You said Worklight also runs as a service on Bluemix, correct?
No, Worklight doesn't run as a service within Bluemix. So what we provide is, we provide options. We provide REST API calls or HTTP adapter calls from Worklight, wherein, say for example, the database part, if your database is actually running within Bluemix, and from a Worklight application, you want to talk to a database that is running within Bluemix, you can make calls to those database or services that are running within your Bluemix environment. But as of date, Bluemix server is not running within your Bluemix environment. The Worklight server is not running within your Bluemix environment.
Right. So if I wanted to deploy like a Worklight app, right? Let's say I built a mobile app on Worklight, I would follow the same deployment process like I do.
So for Worklight, what you'll have to do is, so Worklight can only be deployed on soft layer.
Okay.
So you'll have to actually you'll have to take an account on soft layer and then get a license of. There are two ways of doing it. One is you create a account on soft layer infrastructure as a service, and then get a license from IBM, and then you can deploy your Worklight server on top of whatever account that you've created on your software. That's one way. The second way of doing it is like we provide, that's a new model that we're working out internally within IBM. So still it's in beta, a lot of discussions going on internally, wherein we are actually planning to provide Worklight on a monthly rental model. Wherein, so we'll host this Worklight server on IBM software, and then probably we'll give you the access, and then once you've created your Worklight-based applications in your local developer edition or your local studio, you can export the app and deploy it on your Worklight server, which is running on software, and then you can provide it for your end customers. But Worklight is not available, or as of date, it is not available within Bluemix. So Bluemix is a set of services that is already running, or set of runtimes that is already available for you. You can use out of those services that is already available. But if you want to host Worklight on cloud, software approach is the only way as of date.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Lokesh.
Yeah, Thiru.
I have some clarification. See, I was trying to create an application to connect to the Salesforce. So there was a document on the IBM where I have created an app in the Salesforce in their site. And later on, I went to this IBM DevOps service.
DevOps, okay.
Yes. There I created my service and I deployed the same service on the Bluemix.
So DevOps is basically a repository for your code.
Okay.
What service did you create in DevOps? DevOps is basically more of a code repository. So you can't create services.
But it helps me to deploy the same thing onto the Bluemix.
Correct. So if you have a code already inside your DevOps, IBM DevOps repository, you can click on build and deploy, and it will deploy the code onto your Bluemix environment.
Yes, I have created my code and I have deployed it onto the Bluemix. So in the Bluemix, it was asking me the configuration related to the Salesforce regarding the ID, username.
So do you already have a DevOps account created? Because DevOps, as I told you, it's a separate offering from IBM called as, it's a rational offering. So it is called as, it's a jasub.net. So if you just create an account for yourself in hub.jas.net, to be, let me try to open it on a browser here. So you'll have to create an account there. Otherwise, because for me, what I've done is, you did that, okay.
Yeah, we did that.
Okay.
So what I have created my class file and I have deployed it onto the Bluemix.
Okay.
So what happened after giving all the credentials? One thing, my question is, how the Bluemix is able to identify that application onto the Salesforce? Is it only through this consumer key or this, based on this thing it is able to identify, or?
No, the question that you're asking is, after you deploy the code from your DevOps into your Bluemix, the question that you're asking is how we are able to connect to your Salesforce, or how we are going to deploy on Salesforce?
No, how I'm able to connect to the Salesforce.
Okay. So I don't know what tutorial you are referring to, but traditionally, if they are exposing that as a web service, okay, so you can basically consume those web services from your application. But otherwise, the approach from IBM is you'll have to use the Kasta and Live adapter. So in that tutorial, whatever you are mentioning, did you go through a Kasta and Live adapter demo?
No, I have not gone through this Kasta. Because it asked me to register for the Kasta and something else, and I'm waiting for that this thing.
Okay. So I'm not sure of this particular part. So probably if you can just share me that link wherein you have seen that content, I can go through that content and advise you what exactly is happening, how exactly you are trying to connect from a Bluemix environment to a Salesforce cloud environment.
Yeah, sure.
So probably if you can just send it across, I'll have a look at it and let you know.
Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be really great. And Lokesh, another thing is that to be able to use the cast iron adapter, we had to put in some kind of a request. It didn't come
I think there's a 1 month, again, a free trial where we can create endpoints. Yeah. But otherwise, you will have to get that fees and then start using it. So that will be a charge fee.
Okay, but does it take a certain amount of time to get a request approved, or is it, I think it's waiting, right, for that?
Yeah, it shouldn't take so much of time, so, because everything is allowed.
I have registered it for last week, but till now I have not got any response from them.
You requested for that, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so any mail that you sent?
Not mail, through online they asked for me to register all those things, and I got a mail from IBM that you will get implemented in a short span of time.
Okay. So probably what you can do me is just mail me your user ID using which you have logged in to create a Bluemix account. So I will internally check with the Bluemix team saying that this particular user ID, they've raised a request for the Salesforce adapter, and then they're still waiting for it, and I can follow it up with them.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay. Great. So we'll send you the information, and this was really helpful, Lokesh. I know we went over time, but I hope that's okay for you. For us, it was
that's not a problem. Thanks for your patience, and hope the session was useful, and hope to be in touch as we start developing the application going forward.
We will. Great.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now departing.
Ranjini Rao.
Now departing.
Lokesh.